Quadratic formula. In this video, we'll talk about using quadratic formula to solve quadratic equation in standard form. And recall, standard form of a quadratic equation is this: ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. So everything is on the left side, the right side is 0. If you don't have 0 here, then you got to move everything to the left by subtracting. And a, b, c are numbers, they are real numbers, and a is not equal to 0. Anyway, in a problem, you will be given those numbers, so we don't need all of that. The formula itself is x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac all over 2a. If you're interested in knowing how we got this formula, I have a video on deriving the quadratic formula. You might want to watch that. But a lot of times you won't be asked to derive it. All you need to know is this formula and be able to use it. So let's start with examples. Example 1, I will say solve using quadratic formula. And the equation may be this: x squared minus 6x plus 7 is equal to 0. All right, so we begin by writing a, b, and c. A is the number in front of x squared. If you don't see any numbers, then it's a 1. B is negative 6, and c is positive 7. And then you plug into the formula. So you have, it's a fraction where the numerator is a lot bigger, denominator is just 2 times a. But in the numerator, if you see negative b, you want to read it as opposite of b. So b itself is negative 6. So I want to write the opposite of b. So I will say it's 6. So negative b or opposite of b is positive 6 plus or minus square root b square minus 4ac. Now b square minus 4ac is going to be, this is b square minus 4ac. When you don't see anything in between, it means multiplication. So a is 1, which means it's 4 times 1. 4ac means 4 times a times c. So it's 4 times 1 times 7, and then all over 2 times a. And you simplify at every step. So it's 6 plus or minus, and then you have a square root. Now all of that, I can use a calculator to figure that out, but here is what I would recommend. You want to do all of this in a single step in the calculator. So I'm going to plug negative 6, then take the square, minus 4 times 1 times 7. So I'm getting 8. So all of the stuff under the square root is 8, divided by 2 times a is 1. 2 times 1 is just 2. Now this quantity b square minus 4ac, you want to evaluate all at once. This is an important quantity. It actually has a name. It's called discriminant. And we will have a video completely dedicated to discriminant. Discriminant will tell us the nature of the roots. So we'll talk about that later on. So far I have this. Now, there's a video on simplifying radicals. So if you have square root of 8, then you can break it down as 4 times 2 within the square root divided by 2. And then you can say that x is equal to 6 plus or minus, the square root of 4 is 2, root 2 over 2. So what has happened here? The 4 has come out of the square root, but the 2 has to stay within the square root. Now at this point, I can factor a 2 in the numerator. So I have x is equal to 2, and in parentheses it's 3 plus or minus, it's just root 2 divided by 2. And 2's cancel each other out, so the answer is 3 plus or minus square root of 2. So I have two answers, 3 plus or minus, 3 plus square root 2 and 3 minus square root 2. Now, a common mistake is to simply say 6 divided by 2 is 3. And students forget that it's not just 6. You have two terms here. So you can't divide just one term. You have to simplify this, and if 2 appears as a factor here as well, that's when you can take it out. It's only after you factor out, then you can cancel the common factor. All right, so that's example 1. Let's do some more examples. In example 2, I'm going to say y square plus 8y plus 12 is equal to 0. So this time a is 1, b is 8, and c is 12. So this time the variable is y, so I'm going to say y is equal to, I want to write a fraction. The numerator is opposite of b, which is negative 8, plus or minus square root of b square minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. So like in the previous problem, I'm going to write down the fraction, and negative 8 plus or minus, I'm going to copy until the square root part. But all of the square root, all of the quantity under the square root, I'm going to use a calculator. So it's 8 square, and I'm putting 8 in parentheses because sometimes there's a negative number. So just for consistency, times 12. Oops, forgot to close the parentheses there. So this is my b square minus 4ac. 8 square minus 4 times 1 times 12, and I got 16. Yeah, you want to do all of this in one step. It not only makes things faster, you less likely make any mistakes. Divided by 2 times 1 is just 2. So now I have y equals negative 8 plus or minus, square root 16 is 4 divided by 2. So what are my answers this time? I have two answers, negative 8 plus 4 divided by 2, or y equals negative 8 minus 4 divided by 2. So this is negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and here I have negative 12 divided by 2, so that's negative 6. So those are my two answers. All right, let's look at one other example. Example 3, I want to say, let's use a different letter. Say u square minus 10u plus 25 equal to 0. So what does the quadratic formula tell me? I will have a fraction. The numerator is, let's go ahead and write down the values of A, B, C. A is 1, B is negative 10, and C is positive 25. So I want to take the opposite of B, which is positive 10. That's where I begin. Plus or minus square root of B square minus 4AC. So it's negative 10 quantity square minus 4 times A is 1 times C all over 2 times A, which means U is 10 plus or minus square root of, now I'm going to use calculator for this. It's going to be 100 minus 100, but you can use a calculator. It turns out to be 0 over 2. So now you have two answers, but one answer is 10 plus 0 divided by 2, the other is 10 minus 0 divided by 2. So you only have one answer, which is 5. Now sometimes in math you write this as having a double root or double solution, 5 and 5. So it's possible that you will end up with only one answer, and that happens when the quantity under the square root is 0. All right, let's look at one more example. Example 4. Say x square plus 3x plus 11 equal to 0. Now this time, the quadratic formula, well, A is 1, B is 3, and C is 11. So 1, 3, 11. Opposite of B, negative B plus or minus square root of B square minus 4AC all over 2 times A. So x is equal to negative 3 plus or minus square root. And now I will use calculator for this. I would have 9 minus 44. So that would be negative 33 divided by 2. So you see that you have a negative number under the square root, which means you're going to have two answers, but they are both going to be complex. One would be negative 3 plus square root of negative 33 divided by 2, and the other is negative 3 minus square root negative 33 divided by 2. Sometimes you can leave the answer in this form, but sometimes you're asked, or you may have to pick from one of the several choices, but you may not see this. What you may see is this, negative 3 plus square root 33I over 2, and the other answer is negative 3 minus square root 33I over 2. So sometimes you will get imaginary answers, and that happens when your square root turns out to be negative. So that quantity, b square minus 4ac, is the one that will decide whether we are going to have two real roots, like in the first two examples, or one real root, like here, when your discriminant is 0, and imaginary roots if the discriminant is negative. But we will have a video completely dedicated to that part, the discriminant, and we will look at examples over there. Now, here are the practice problems for the quadratic formula. So I have 10 problems, and you might notice A, B, C, you just have to plug them in. And 6 is not in the standard form. You can see there is a 4. So be sure to subtract 4 before you use the quadratic formula. You need to turn this into a standard form. And then sometimes some coefficients are 0. For example, here b is 0. Why? Because there is no x term. So if there is no x, then the coefficient of x is 0. And the answers will be in the description. So good luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.